A store can be full on Saturday and still be one bad quarter away from closing. That is the part people miss. Shoppers are still walking in, carts are still rolling, receipts are still printing. But under the import costs, supply chains add delays, fees, insurance, fuel, and warehousing. Customers feel squeezed, so they buy less, trade down, and wait for deals. By the end, you will see why a store can look alive to the public while its business model is quietly breaking. The simple story says retail stores are closing because nobody shops in person anymore. That is too easy. It is also wrong. People still shop in stores for groceries, medicine, clothes, hardware, gifts, returns, and last-minute needs. The problem is not that shopping disappeared. The problem is that the profit inside each trip got thinner. A store does not close because one customer walks out. It closes when rent, payroll, utilities, freight, shrink, debt, and inventory costs rise faster than the store can raise prices. That is why a busy store can still be weak. Foot traffic can hide a damaged margin. Tariffs sound distant, like something argued about on television. But a tariff is not paid by a foreign country at your checkout line. It is usually paid by the importer when goods enter the country. Then, the cost moves through the chain. Sometimes the retailer absorbs it. Sometimes the supplier does. Often the shopper pays part of it. That part is important because tariffs do not arrive with a sticker that says, "This item costs more because of trade policy." They show up as a slightly higher shelf price, a smaller package, a reduced coupon, a cheaper material, a narrower selection, or a store that stops carrying the item entirely. Supply chain costs work the same way. You do not see the container rate, the port delay, the warehouse labor bill, the insurance premium, or the extra inventory sitting in a distribution center. When costs rise slowly, people argue about whether anything is really happening. One week the cereal is up a little. Another week the detergent bottle looks familiar but holds less. A promotion returns, but the deal is weaker. Retailers live between two angry groups. Investors want margins protected. Customers want prices lower. Suppliers want their costs covered. Landlords want rent. Workers want paychecks. If a store raises prices too much, customers leave. That is the trap. A retailer can survive weak sales for a while. It can survive higher costs for a while. It can survive bargain hunting for a while. This is why the phrase store closing can feel confusing. You may have just seen people shopping there. You may have stood in a long checkout line. You may have complained that there were not enough employees. Busy does not always mean profitable. The old retail dream was simple. Buy goods at a good wholesale price. Move them through a predictable supply chain. Put them on shelves. Mark them up. Run promotions. Earn enough to keep the lights on. That model depends on stability. A tariff can turn a planned order into a guessing game. Should the retailer buy more before costs rise? Should it cancel the order? Should it move production? Should it accept lower margins? Every choice carries risk, and the cost of a wrong choice can sit on shelves for months. Inventory used to feel like safety. More goods meant fuller shelves and fewer missed sales. But when demand gets shaky, inventory becomes a bill with a barcode. You paid for it. You paid to ship it. You paid to store it. That is why promotions are everywhere. The red tag is not always generosity. Sometimes it is a rescue operation. A store marks down goods because it needs cash, space, and momentum. The danger is that customers get trained to wait. Now think about a small specialty store. It sells home goods, party supplies, shoes, toys, or apparel. Many of those categories depend on imported products. The small store has fewer defenses. It cannot negotiate freight like a giant. It cannot demand the same supplier concessions. It cannot spread technology costs across thousands of locations. It cannot lose money in one aisle because another aisle makes it back. A big chain can pressure suppliers, redesign packaging, delay price increases, change assortments, or push private labels. A smaller retailer may only have two choices: raise prices and risk losing shoppers, or keep prices and bleed cash. That is why closures often start with underperforming locations. A company does not always vanish at once. It closes the store with weak sales, expensive rent, older fixtures, bad traffic patterns, or a customer base that has shifted. The sign says closing. The cause is usually layered. Party City became a symbol of how fragile specialty retail can be. The chain depended on discretionary purchases, seasonal demand, imported party goods, and physical stores that had to be stocked before customers knew what they wanted. When costs rose and competition intensified, the model had less room to breathe. Big Lots showed another side of the squeeze. Discount home goods depend on shoppers feeling confident enough to buy furniture, decor, seasonal items, and extras. When households focus on groceries, rent, car payments, and credit cards, the fun purchase becomes easier to postpone. Forever. 21 showed how fast fashion changed again. Mall traffic weakened, tastes moved quickly, and low-priced online rivals pressured a store model built for big spaces and constant inventory turnover. Tariffs and duty rules were not the only problem, but cost pressure made the fight harder. Macy's reflects the department store challenge. Large stores carry large fixed costs, and many malls no longer deliver the same automatic crowd they once did. When shoppers become more selective, the store has to work harder to justify every square foot. Kroger shows why grocery is not immune. Food stores still draw traffic because people have to eat, but that does not mean every basket is comfortable. When shoppers focus on promotions, trade down, and avoid extras, the store can sell plenty of goods while fighting margin pressure. Walmart has an advantage because scale is a weapon. A giant retailer can bargain harder, move goods through a huge logistics network, sell private labels, and use low prices to pull traffic from weaker competitors. That does not mean costs disappear. It means the company has more ways to manage them. Costco has a different shield. Membership fees, high volume, limited item selection, and bulk selling give it a structure many traditional stores cannot copy. Customers may feel they are protecting themselves by buying larger packs, while the company benefits from loyalty and predictable traffic. Target sits in the middle of the emotional retail fight. It sells essentials but also home goods, apparel, beauty, and seasonal items. When shoppers get cautious, the discretionary side becomes harder. The store may still be busy, but the mix of what people buy matters. Amazon changed the customer's patience. Once people learned they could compare prices quickly, read reviews, and get products delivered, physical stores had to offer more than shelves. They needed speed, service, trust, convenience, or a better price. Rising costs made that challenge sharper. Shein pressured apparel by making cheap fashion feel endless and immediate. Its rise made it harder for mall-based clothing stores to defend higher prices, especially with younger shoppers who treat trends as disposable and compare every purchase online. Temu added another kind of pressure. It trained some shoppers to expect extremely low prices on household goods, accessories, gadgets, and impulse items. Traditional retailers cannot always match that without damaging quality, margins, or supplier relationships. The uncomfortable truth is that retail is not dying evenly. Weak stores close while strong stores gain share. Bargain chains, warehouse clubs, off-price sellers, and dominant online platforms can grow while familiar neighborhood stores disappear. That is not a collapse. It is a transfer of power. Tariffs accelerate that transfer because scale matters more when uncertainty rises. A giant can hire trade lawyers, reroute sourcing, negotiate around the edges, and absorb temporary pain. A tariff also creates timing problems. Goods ordered months ago may arrive under a different cost structure than expected. The retailer priced the season based on one assumption and receives the bill under another. This is especially brutal for seasonal categories. Halloween, back to school, patio furniture, holiday decor, summer toys, and winter apparel all require early decisions. If costs rise after orders are placed, the retailer may be trapped. Customers see a clearance sale and think the store overbought. Sometimes that is true, but overbuying can be caused by fear. Retailers stock up because they worry costs will rise later. That is why supply chain risk changes behavior. Companies carry more inventory to protect against delays, but extra inventory ties up cash. They diversify suppliers, but new suppliers can cost more. The phrase supply chain sounds boring until it hits the shelf. It is the route from raw material to factory, from factory to port, from port to warehouse, from warehouse to store, and from store to your cart. Every step has a cost. A retailer may not control the cotton price, the resin price, the carton cost, the trucking market, the insurance bill, or the currency movement. But the customer judges the final price anyway. That is the cruel part. Still, retailers are not innocent bystanders. Some companies use real cost pressure as cover for strategic pricing. If customers expect higher prices, a retailer may test what the market will tolerate. Not every increase is pure survival. This is where the story gets lightly uncomfortable. Inflation gives companies an excuse to find the customer's breaking point. A price hike can be blamed on tariffs, freight, labor, theft, fuel, or uncertainty. Some reasons are real, some are convenient. That confusion benefits the seller. If you cannot tell whether a price is fair, you compare less. If every store is expensive, you get tired. Grocery stores understand this better than almost anyone. They know most shoppers do not memorize unit prices. People remember the price of milk, eggs, bread, and a few favorite items. That is why grocery pricing can feel like a maze. One item is on sale, another is only cheaper with a digital coupon. Another requires buying multiple units. Another is cheaper only for loyalty members. The shelf tag can say value, but the real test is unit price. Price per ounce, per pound, per sheet, per load, or per serving tells a cleaner story. Shrinkflation works because the brain notices price faster than quantity. A shopper may reject a visible price jump, but accept the same price for less product. The package looks familiar. The habit continues. The receipt looks normal. Packaging also shapes emotion. Taller bottles can look bigger. Larger boxes can hold less. Air, shape, handle design, and label placement can create a sense of abundance. Private labels add another layer. Store brands can save customers money, and many are good products. But they also give retailers more control. The store controls placement, promotion, packaging, and margin. This is not automatically bad. A shopper who switches to a store brand may protect the household budget. But the bigger trend matters. As customers trade down, retailers learn exactly how much brand loyalty remains. Coupons have changed too. The old coupon was paper, obvious, and open to anyone who clipped it. That system rewards attention. It also punishes exhaustion. A parent rushing after work may pay more than a shopper with time to scan every deal. Loyalty cards sound friendly because the word loyalty feels warm. But loyalty programs are also data systems. The discount is real. The data exchange is also real. You save on the item today, while the retailer learns how to price, stock, and market to you tomorrow. Digital pricing makes this more powerful. A paper tag changes slowly. A digital system can change faster, test more, and coordinate with inventory, demand, weather, location, and competitor prices. That does not mean every store is secretly charging every person a different price in the aisle. Claims should be careful. But regulators have raised concerns about systems that use consumer data to target prices or offers. Delivery apps add another layer to what people pay. Convenience has a price, and it is not just the delivery fee. Convenience is powerful because it saves time, and time is real. But when households are squeezed, convenience can quietly drain the budget. A quick order can feel like survival on a long day. The same thing happens inside stores. The most profitable items often sit where tired people make fast choices. End caps, checkout lanes, seasonal displays, and eye-level shelves are not random. Store layouts are designed to manage movement. Essentials may pull you deeper into the building. Impulse items appear near waiting points. Premium products get better lighting. Value products may require a little more searching. The store is not just selling goods, it is shaping decisions. When supply costs rise, that layout becomes even more important. Retailers need customers to accept higher margin items, trade up when possible, and grab extras. This is why a full parking lot can be misleading. The store may be attracting deal hunters who buy loss leaders and skip profitable categories. Traffic without margin is like applause without revenue. Retailers sometimes keep prices low on known value items because those items shape reputation. If eggs, milk, bananas, or bread look reasonable, shoppers may assume the whole store is competitive. That is the grocery game. The customer thinks, this store is cheaper. Tariffs complicate this because the affected items are uneven. Not every product has the same import exposure. A domestically produced item may be less affected than an imported small appliance, shoe, toy, garment, or home good. When the total bill rises, people simplify. They blame the store, the government, the brand, the economy, or themselves. The truth is often a chain reaction. Policy raises costs. Logistics adds costs. Companies make pricing choices. Consumers change behavior. That chain reaction explains why official language feels so cold. Economists say input costs, pass-through, margin compression, consumer sensitivity, and inventory normalization. Now look at the workers. When a store closes, it is not just a logo leaving a plaza. The community loses convenience too. A closing store can mean a longer drive, fewer choices, less price competition, and another empty space in a shopping center. Landlords feel it next. Empty retail space can be hard to refill depending on location, size, parking, and local income. A big box built for one type of chain may not easily become something else. The bigger question is who gets replaced. If independent stores and mid-sized chains disappear, while giant platforms and mega retailers expand, consumers may get lower prices in some areas but less diversity, weaker service, and fewer local options. That trade-off matters. A giant retailer can be efficient. It can also become the only practical choice. When the market narrows, shoppers may have fewer places to punish bad service or high prices. Competition is not just about price. Tariffs are often sold as protection for domestic jobs. Sometimes they can support strategic industries. But in retail, the immediate effect can be higher costs on goods that stores already depend on. A tariff can be announced quickly. A factory cannot be built quickly. A supplier network cannot be replaced overnight. That lag creates the pain. Policy moves faster than production. Headlines move faster than containers. Customers react faster than supply chains. Some companies pre-buy inventory before tariff changes. That can delay price increases for a while. But once older inventory sells through, the new cost appears. The Federal Reserve has described businesses facing tariff-related input cost pressure, with some passing costs to customers and others hesitating because customers are price-sensitive. That hesitation is the retail squeeze in plain English. Raise prices and lose traffic. When a store is already weak, it cannot afford hesitation. Debt payments continue. Rent continues. Utilities continue. Technology costs continue. Insurance continues. Interest rates also matter. Retailers borrow to finance inventory, remodel stores, manage operations, and survive rough periods. Higher borrowing costs make mistakes more expensive. Insurance and utilities matter too. They are not exciting, so they get less attention. But a store with refrigerators, lights, heating, cooling, security systems, and delivery schedules consumes real energy and pays real overhead before selling one item. Theft and shrink add pressure, though the topic is often politicized. Shrink includes shoplifting, employee theft, damage, scanning errors, vendor mistakes, and administrative problems. It is not one simple story. But any lost inventory still hits the margin. Labor is another tension. Customers complain when stores are understaffed. Workers complain when hours are cut. Management cuts hours because margins are thin. Then service gets worse, shelves get messy, checkout lines grow, and customers leave. The cost cut becomes a sales problem. This is why some store closures are really trust failures. The customer no longer believes the store is worth the trip. The store no longer believes the location is worth the cost. Both sides quietly give up before the official closing sign appears. The middle-class shopper is especially important here. Retailers built many formats around households that would buy essentials plus a few extras. If those households cut the extras, entire categories weaken. The basket gets practical, the store gets less profitable. A grocery trip shows it clearly. Meat gets swapped for cheaper proteins. Name brands become store brands. Snacks become occasional. Fresh produce gets planned carefully. Non-food items move online or get delayed. The cart still fills, but the profit mix changes. That is why sales dollars can rise while units fall. If prices are higher, revenue may look stable, even when people buy fewer items. A company can report decent sales while customers feel poorer, and stores move less volume. Volume matters because stores are built for movement. Trucks, shelves, labor schedules, and vendor agreements depend on predictable flow. If fewer units move, the whole machine becomes less efficient. Higher prices can hide weakness for a while. Eventually, the hidden weakness appears. A retailer announces a strategic review, then cost savings, then store optimization, then underperforming locations, then liquidation sales. The language is polished. The human meaning is simple. The math stopped working. Closures also create a feedback loop. When one anchor store leaves a shopping center, nearby stores may lose traffic. A customer who came for one big reason may not make the trip for smaller reasons. The whole plaza can weaken. Mall-based stores know this pain. Department stores once pulled crowds that benefited apparel, shoes, jewelry, food courts, and small shops. When anchors shrink, the smaller stores lose borrowed traffic. Their costs do not shrink as quickly. Online shopping did not create every problem, but it changed the comparison standard. A physical store now competes with every price a customer can see on a phone. That phone is in the aisle, next to the shelf tag, acting like a silent negotiator. The store has one advantage the internet cannot fully copy: immediacy. You can touch the item, get it now, return it easily, ask a person, and avoid waiting. But immediacy has to be worth the price difference. Tariffs and supply costs widen that gap. For bulky goods, freight can be brutal. Furniture, appliances, fixtures, seasonal decor, and home improvement items take space. They cost more to move and store. When demand slows, those items become heavy in every sense. For apparel, sizing and trend risk are brutal. The store must guess colors, sizes, quantities, and timing. If costs rise and fashion changes fast, wrong inventory becomes expensive fabric. Discounts may clear it, but discounts also train customers to distrust full price. For toys and party goods, timing is everything. A birthday, holiday, graduation, or event does not wait for supply chain stability. If prices are too high, customers substitute. If shelves are wrong, customers leave. Imported novelty goods are especially exposed. For electronics, tariffs and components can affect costs, but customers are also highly price-aware. They compare instantly. A store needs knowledgeable service or strong deals. Otherwise, it becomes a showroom for someone else's sale. For pharmacies and drugstores, the store is often more than prescriptions. It sells convenience goods, beauty, snacks, household items, and seasonal products. If the front end weakens, the whole location can become less attractive. The retail map is being redrawn by value, not cheap alone. Value. Shoppers ask, is this worth the price, the drive, the time, the app, the membership, the data, the wait, the hassle? Stores that cannot answer clearly are exposed. This is why private label keeps growing in importance. It lets retailers offer a lower visible price and protect margin at the same time. The customer feels smart. The retailer gains control. National brands lose some power. Premium products create another strange pattern. Even while many shoppers trade down, some still pay extra for small luxuries: coffee, beauty, snacks, pet products, or wellness items. Retailers like that because premium categories can carry stronger margins. The consumer feels contradiction because the store is contradictory. It says prices are low while putting locked cases on shelves. It offers digital coupons while raising regular prices. It promotes value while selling luxury candles near the entrance. Some of this is survival, some of it is strategy. The hard part is knowing which is which. A retailer can be genuinely squeezed by tariffs and still use pricing psychology. A company can face real freight costs and still test how much shoppers will tolerate. This is why blaming only tariffs is too narrow. Tariffs are a force multiplier. They make existing weaknesses worse. They do not explain every bad lease, every failed brand, every outdated store, every debt load, or every customer shift. But ignoring tariffs is also wrong. Import costs matter in a country where many retail shelves depend on global production. When the cost of bringing goods in rises, the pressure does not stay at the port. It travels. It travels into purchase orders, supplier negotiations, wholesale prices, packaging choices, promotion budgets, and retail margins. Then it travels into the customer experience. Higher prices, fewer deals, less variety, and sometimes fewer stores. That is why supply chain costs matter even when shelves are full. Full shelves only tell you products arrived. They do not tell you what it cost to get them there. A store can be stocked and still financially strained. The best retailers manage this quietly. They adjust sourcing, redesign products, use data better, negotiate harder, and keep the customer experience clean. The weaker ones show the stress in messy shelves, thin staffing, confusing prices, and constant clearance. Customers are becoming more skilled, though. They compare unit prices. They split shopping across stores. They wait for sales. They buy bulk. They switch to private labels. They use cashback apps. They cancel impulse purchases. They are not passive. But skill takes effort. Not everyone has time to turn grocery shopping into a research project. A fair market should not require a tired person to solve a puzzle just to avoid overpaying for detergent and cereal. That is where the anger comes from. People are not only upset that prices are higher, they are upset that prices feel harder to understand. The deal requires an app. The package changed. The coupon expired. The cheap item is out of stock. The total keeps surprising them. Retailers know surprise is dangerous at checkout. The receipt is where the emotional judgment happens. A shopper may accept each individual price, then see the total and feel betrayed. That feeling changes future behavior. Future behavior is what closes stores. Not one bad day, not one angry tweet. A slow shift. Fewer trips, smaller baskets. More discount hunting, more online comparison, less loyalty. The store loses the customer by inches. When enough inches add up, management calls it traffic softness. The community calls it another store closing. Employees call it layoffs. Customers call it one less place to go. Economists call it restructuring. Everyone is describing the same wound from different angles. Still, we should not romanticize every chain. Some stores were poorly run. Some ignored customers. Some relied on old habits too long. Some carried too much debt. Some lost relevance before tariffs became the headline. Sympathy should not erase accountability. The sharper point is that rising costs expose weak strategy. When money is easy and customers are spending freely, mistakes can hide. When tariffs, freight, interest, and inflation squeeze the system, weak stores run out of hiding places. That is why retail closures often appear sudden to shoppers, but not to the balance sheet. The signs were there. Fewer employees, more clearance, aging stores, missing sizes, weaker service, confusing inventory, and a feeling that the place had stopped investing in itself. A closing sale can feel exciting for a moment. People hunt bargains. The parking lot fills again. But it is a strange kind of traffic. It is not revival. It is the final conversion of inventory into cash. And even those deals may not be as clean as shoppers think. Liquidation pricing can start with discounts that sound large but are applied to prices that may not be the lowest available elsewhere. A closing sign creates urgency, and urgency weakens comparison. That is another uncomfortable truth. The final stage of a store can still be a pricing strategy. Emotion sells. Scarcity sells. Last chance sells. The same psychology that moved impulse items now moves the whole store. But after the shelves empty, the cost remains in the community. Workers search for jobs, customers adjust routines, landlords hunt tenants, suppliers lose accounts, nearby stores lose spillover traffic. A closure is not just an ending, it is a local economic ripple. So what should viewers watch for? Watch prices on imported categories. Watch package sizes. Watch whether coupons become harder to use. Watch whether stores cut hours, reduce staff, or close departments before closing locations. Watch the language companies use. Cost optimization. Portfolio review. Strategic footprint. Right sizing. Productivity initiative. These phrases may sound harmless, but they often mean the company is deciding which stores deserve more money and which stores are running out of chances. Watch inventory too. Too little inventory means missed sales and frustrated customers. Too much inventory means cash trapped on shelves. Both can signal stress. The healthiest stores usually feel full, clean, staffed, and easy to shop without drowning in clearance. Watch whether a retailer is winning value trust. The question is not, is every item cheapest? No store wins every item. The question is, does the customer believe the total trip is fair? Once that belief breaks, it is hard to rebuild. For shoppers, the practical lesson is not to panic. It is to become harder to manipulate. Compare unit prices. Notice package sizes. Use loyalty discounts intentionally. Question buy more deals. Check whether a sale is real. Keep a short list of items whose prices you know. Do not let every price increase hide under the word tariff. Ask whether the item is imported, whether the brand changed the package, whether the store brand is better value, and whether another retailer offers a fairer total. Curiosity saves money. Also, do not let every closure become a political slogan. Some stores close because of tariffs, some because of debt, some because of rent, some because customers changed, some because management failed. The real story is usually a stack, not a single brick. For business owners, the lesson is harsher. Customers have less patience for confusion. If you must raise prices, explain value clearly. If you offer deals, make them simple. If you collect data, earn trust. If you cut service, do not expect loyalty to survive. For policymakers, the lesson is that tariffs are not abstract. They move through businesses with different levels of strength. A giant may absorb and adapt. A small retailer may close. A policy can aim at global strategy and still hit a local storefront. For communities, the lesson is to notice stores before the closing sign. Support the ones that matter, but also demand better from them. Loyalty should not mean accepting bad prices or poor service forever. A healthy local market needs both support and accountability. The future of retail will not be store versus online. It will be value versus confusion. Stores that make shopping easier, fairer, and worth the trip can survive. Stores that rely on habit while costs rise will struggle. Tariffs and supply chain costs are like stress tests. They reveal which retailers have strong systems and which ones were already fragile. They reveal which companies can protect customers and which ones can only pass pain down the line. They also reveal something about us. We say we want low prices, good wages, local stores, domestic production, fast shipping, endless choice, generous returns, and no hidden fees. That is a beautiful wish list. It is also expensive. Someone pays for every promise. The worker pays through hours. The supplier pays through squeezed terms. The customer pays through prices. The investor pays through lower profit. The community pays when stores close. Retail is the place where those trade-offs become visible. That does not mean shoppers are powerless. A receipt is a small vote, but it is still information. When enough people trade down, split trips, reject confusing deals, or leave a store completely, retailers notice fast. The danger is that the biggest players can read those signals best. They have the data, scale, and technology to respond. Smaller stores may understand customers personally, but lack the capital to adjust quickly. That gap may define the next decade of retail. So when you see another store closing, do not just ask, "Did people stop shopping?" Ask a better question. Could that store still make money serving people at prices they were willing to pay, with costs it could actually survive? That question cuts through the noise. It includes tariffs. It includes freight. It includes rent, labor, debt, competition, data, discounts, and trust. It explains why the store can be busy and doomed at the same time. The checkout line is not the whole business. The receipt is not the whole margin. The shelf price is not the whole cost. Retail looks simple because we experience the front of it. The back of it is a machine full of pressure. And right now, that pressure is changing what America looks like. Some stores will disappear. Some will shrink. Some will become pickup points. Some will turn into medical offices, gyms, discount outlets, or empty boxes waiting for a new idea. The winners will not always be the most loved. They may be the most efficient, the most data-rich, the most ruthless about costs, or the clearest about value. That is good for some prices and bad for some choices. The losers will not always be lazy. Some will be caught between global policy, expensive logistics, cautious consumers, and stronger competitors. They may have customers who care, but not enough margin to stay open. That is the sadness of this story. A store can matter and still close. A worker can be excellent and still lose hours. A customer can be loyal and still shop elsewhere because the budget wins. Economics does not always reward affection. But there is also clarity here. The next time someone says stores are closing because nobody shops anymore, you can say, not exactly. People are shopping differently, paying differently, comparing differently, and reacting to a cost structure that has changed. The next time someone says tariffs are paid by someone else, you can say, the bill moves. It may move slowly, it may move unevenly, but it often reaches the shelf, the coupon, the package, the worker, or the closing sign. The next time a store says prices are up because costs are up, you can ask, which costs, how much, and who else is sharing the pain? A serious answer deserves respect. A vague answer deserves skepticism. Retail survives on trust. Trust that the price is fair. Trust that the product is worth it. Trust that the store will be there. Trust that the deal is not a trick. When that trust breaks, no amount of bright signage can fully repair it. That is why the current wave of closures feels bigger than business news. It touches the weekly grocery run, the mall where people grew up, the drugstore near home, the discount chain that made Christmas possible, the small shop that knew your name. It is not just about stores shutting down. It is about the hidden cost of a system where every shock gets passed along until someone cannot pass it any further. Sometimes that someone is the shopper. Sometimes it is the worker. Sometimes it is the store. The biggest takeaway is simple. Rising tariffs and supply chain costs do not automatically close every store. They squeeze the retail model. Then weak margins, cautious consumers, debt, rent, competition, and pricing games decide who survives. The second takeaway is that shoppers are still powerful, but they need sharper eyes. Unit prices, package sizes, loyalty apps, coupons, private labels, delivery fees, and impulse layouts all shape what you really pay. The shelf price is only the start. The final takeaway is that retail is not disappearing. It is concentrating, filtering, and becoming more data-driven. Some stores will win by making life easier. Others will lose because the old math no longer works. If this video made you look at store closings differently, like the video and share it with someone who keeps wondering why everything feels expensive even when stores are packed. And comment with this question: which closed store in your area surprised you the most, and what do you think really caused it?